Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Poland Daily History. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and today we are here at the Łazienki Royal Park, a special place in the center of Warsaw, the heart of the city. It has many historical events that transpire throughout Polish history, a lot of historical buildings, and wonderful places to behold. Thankfully, the place survived the war and was able to provide a place for generations to admire. Together with our guest, we will see all these beautiful places such as the Royal Theatre, the palace on top of the water, and even more. Join us in Poland Daily History, and we will take you on an adventure. We're here at the Royal Łazienki Park with our guide, Mr. Daniel Ciechowski, and I've heard that this place has a history that dates way before Warsaw has become a city. It's been used as hunting grounds for the Dukes of Mazovia, and I was wondering if you can tell me a little bit about this place and the history before even Warsaw became a city.
Yes, that's true. This area belonged to the Dukes of Mazovia, and they had here one of their wooden residence, wooden burg. Yeah. Nearby was the village called Jazdów. This is why at the beginning this place was called Jazdów. And here the wooden burg was protecting the passage through the river. And the burg was allowing to collect the taxes from the merchants which wanted to pass the river. And the first documented information about this area comes from chronicles in 1262.
1262.
Yeah, it was an attack of the enemy troops, joined Lithuanian and Principality Galicia of Londomeria forces against the Dukes of Mazovia. And one of the branches decided to attack the fortress here in the Jazdów. Unfortunately, at that time, in the fortress, in the burg, was the Prince Duke of Mazovia, Siemowit I, with his oldest son. The burg was quite good prepared for the siege, but unfortunately one of the townspeople betrayed the prince, and the enemy troops could enter to the fortress. During the battle, the Prince Siemowit was killed, and the oldest son was kidnapped.
So I can imagine that this place is not always so well constructed. As you told me that this place dates back to 1262. They were being used as hunting grounds for the royal dukes. I was wondering, what are their activities here? How does it look like? Because this is not built in one day, right?
Yes, it was a huge forest with the big old trees, like for example the oaks. And it was filled with the full of the wild animals.
Wild animals.
So dukes, they could come here, and in the wild nature they could enjoy it during the hunting time.
You just mentioned to me that this place is used for the Dukes of Mazovia as a hunting ground, and I was wondering what animals do they hunt and what kind of environment this is back in the day.
First of all, it was the part of the primal forest, which was starting in today's Germany and ending in the Russia lands. So it was a huge and deep forest with all white kinds of animals. And the most popular huntings were on the European bisons and the bears, for example.
Bears and bisons.
Yes.
I would imagine they were like very big game, good for like trophy hunting, and probably a very prestigious game to hunt.
Yes, the biggest animals were the most popular because thanks to them, the hunter could prove his valor.
So after 1262, a little bit after the events that transpired that you were talking to me about, what are the chronological things that happened in this park? And did the Dukes of Mazovia keep the park, or did they change hands?
20 years later, after 2062, I mean now in 1282, Dukes of Mazovia rebuilt again the burg.
Right.
But during the civil war between the brothers, the burg was destroyed, unfortunately, again. So after the death of the older brother, the youngest brother, Prince Bolesław, he unified the entire Mazovia into one hand.
Right.
And he decided to remove his residence, his burg, from the Jazdów to the today's Warsaw. He built their residence and he located there a small town nearby the residence walls.
What about this place, the park?
And this park was still belonging to the Dukes of Mazovia.
Okay.
But since the second half of the 14th century, Dukes of Mazovia were forced to pay the homage to the Polish kings. So officially, the liege lord of this land became the Polish king, but the Dukes of Mazovia has these lands like the vassals of the king.
I see.
And the next very important date is 1526.
1526.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the Polish Renaissance. When the last female Duke of Mazovia died, and it allowed to the King of Poland, Sigismundus III, to incorporate directly to the Kingdom of Poland the Mazovia lands.
Sure.
And after the death of the King Sigismundus, because the Jazdów was the center of his royal essentials, after that time, when he died in 1545, inherited this land his wife, Queen Bona Sforza. And she, 5 years later, in 1553, she decided to build here her summer residence. It was the first royal, not duke, but the royal residence here in this area of the park, today's park.
So that would be the events that unfold the whole place and turn it to what it is today.
In some way, yes, but it was only the beginning of the process.
So you told me Queen Bona did a really good revamp of the place, and I was wondering if there are any other people that have lent a hand in building what it is today.
Yes, the next owner, the daughter of the Queen Bona, Queen Anna of Jagiellon, she inherited these lands after her mother, and she decided to build here a normal, of course wooden, but normal all-season residence. Later, this place, at the end of 16th century, after the death of Anna of Jagiellon, inherited her nephew, again a king, Sigismundus III. And he decided to build here at the escarpment the first brick castle. And the beginning of today's Ujazdowski Castle are from the time of the King Sigismundus III. Later, his youngest son, John II Kazimierz, he decided to give it these lands with the castle as the perpetual lease to his chamberlain Theodor Denhof. Denhof had a daughter, and after her marriage, he decided to give this perpetual lease to his son-in-law, to the Prince Stanisław Heraclius Lubomirski. It was in the second half of 17th century.
So then we know that it's after the 17th century that the structures, the actual functions of the royal bath is being constructed, and traces of it can even be seen today. I was wondering if you can tell me who is responsible for building these amazing structures.
Yes, the Prince Stanisław Heraclius Lubomirski, he brought here one of the most famous architects and engineers of that time, Tilman van Hameren. He was from Netherlands, and he came to the Poland to work for the royal family and later for the biggest nobles in the Polish-Lithuanian state. And Tilman van Hameren designed a few buildings for the prince here above the escarpment. It was the pavilion of bath, which inside were a few rooms. For example, the bathroom. In the bathroom were two tiny taps sunk into the floor, and they were used as a normal bath times. Another room was for the resting, In the center was the fountain, and it was used as the salon and the dining room. And from the other side, there was a sleeping room for the prince.
Right.
Also, Tilman van Hammeren built for the Prince Lubomirski a hermitage, a small house where prince could spend time alone, outside of the humble and the noise of the Warsaw court.
Right. So yeah, you'll spend the rest of this time taking me to see all these interesting places, and we'll talk more about it.
Yes, of course.
Awesome.